Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Dandadan Season 1, Episode 8. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I'm so curious how people feel about the opening of this episode, considering a lot of, the sound effects. It's there's quite a bit of just slurping down noodles, but it's everyone's gathered around eating, and it's this kind of awkwardness between Momo and Ira. Momo's apologizing, right, I don't want to be enemies with you, and I kind of apologize because I dropped that wash pan on you, and I don't want us to be in a bad spot. I mean, we don't have to be the best of best friends, but I want to make things right in that regard. That wasn't cool of me to do, but also you owe Ken an apology for playing with him like that. But then Ira kind of goes no, my issue isn't you dropping a wash pan on my head. It's the fact that you're a demon. She's like, what? She's like, I know you're a demon. I know Ken is a demon. It's no, he's not even a demon. She's like, you're getting the whole situation misconstrued. It's right, I'm going to purify you. I'm the one that's going to save the world. And, it's that woman over there can't possibly be your grandmother. She's too pretty and young. And I love Psycho being like, oh, well, oh my God, you are so right, Ira. The fact of the matter is, Momo needs to be taken care of because it's she is in fact a demon, and it's her and just the dead, the very stoic look on her face, like she's so sarcastic, but she has such a serious demeanor while she's delivering those lines. She does it twice, being oh yeah, Momo is a bad person. I'm gonna be rooting for you, Ira. Because Ira calls her auntie and stuff instead of grandma, and so it's oh, you recognize me for being as awesome as I am. But yeah, Ira's still dead set on her plan, and I love that little scene. It's so stupid. They both got noodles in their mouths and they're mumbling, and how it's written out on screen. I love how that's just so beautifully done. And also, once again, the sound design on the show is so good, where it's anytime they were knocking away the characters on screen, anytime the Japanese characters is what I'm saying, when they're able to knock them off the screen, it sounds like a bowling ball hitting a pin. I was just a little this show has a fantastic, I haven't commented on enough, but it's because I should have commented on it. I forgot to talk about in episode 4, which has great sound design and little sound cues and funny things that they do. But yeah, the show does such fun things with its sound design and stuff. So, but yeah, Ira takes off because she's just yeah, thanks for the food, and I'm gonna leave. I'm going to deal with you guys later and stuff like that. Once again, still believing herself to be the chosen one by God. But she comes back and she wonders Ken, you're a demon, so why did you save me? You actually attempted to save me multiple times. Despite everything, I know what you were doing and that you were trying to help me and stuff. And he's yeah, because he's but why wouldn't I? If you're in need of help, why wouldn't? And for her, that sparks something in her, and she immediately runs away because she's kind of it's not fair. I'm a human, he's a demon, kind of almost. So for her, this is almost a Romeo and Juliet situation. It's almost interesting. I wasn't expecting, the way they introduced it seemed oh, Ken was kind of bashful around her because it's oh my God, here's a pretty girl talking to me. But it's I don't know if he's quite, I'm so curious to see how they handle that, because once again, he didn't realize how cute Momo was until someone else pointed out, because he was so focused on having a friend. Him and Momo were obviously in an awkward place at the time, but it's also I think for him it was more so a thing of, oh my God, I'm lucky to get another friend. Maybe it's a little easier to recognize Ira as pretty because they didn't have the stipulation of we went through all the craziness we went through and you became my first friend. That shrouded a lot of Ken's view of Momo, so they didn't really have that stipulation and complication with Ira. So I don't know if he recognizes as Ira as pretty. I think he kind of does, but he also doesn't get so caught up in it because he hasn't realized it himself. But it is this episode makes it clear where his heart lies. It's yeah, I'm more so interested in Momo. I'm not interested in Ira, even though Ira is interested in him. And like I said, the way she was playing him and manipulating him in episode 4, but now no, episode 5, but now it's a situation of, well, now her feelings for him are genuine. And when they get to school and you're, oh, I'm skipping over a big part of this. They finally give Ken back his one testicle, and I love it turns into a little baseball game Psycho has drawn like a little mound, and she's ready to strike. And he's like, "Is this really how we're going to give me my ball back?" Like, no, no, no. Because I thought the whole point was she was going to have to crack it open, like crack open the spiritual energy around it. I thought that was the whole point. But like, she actually was swinging for it, missed it, and it slammed right in between, Ken's testicle. And I love that Psycho is like, you should have jumped when something's speeding at you that way. And he's grabbing onto his testicles, jumping up and down, testicle, and jumping up and down. It's like, yes, his ball has been returned, and everyone's kind of hyped up about it. It's just, I love it. And Psycho making a point of, next time that happens, I'm going to I'm like, I love that we just made this whole thing a bit of like returning his balls. I was like, is there a different way we could have done this? But hey, what works, I guess. But either way, the next day when they go to school, Ken is acting a little bashful, and he's like, yeah, we're kind of busy. I'm kind of busy. Got some reports to do. My immediate thought was, he's back to the whole thing of he thinks she's cute, and he's scared to be around her. Like, we were already dealing with that in episode 6. So I thought, like, right now with all that dealt with, he's back to that again. I thought that's what it was. But even Momo could pick up, it's like, no, he's definitely lying, but I don't know what it is. And her friends were like, could it be another girl? And she's like, no, like, Ken wouldn't be that type of person. But then she thinks about Ira. It's like, would he? It's like, but she's like, there's something, once again, it's like when she's not able to be around Ken, and when things are weird or complicated between them, like we saw in episode 6, and like, not even just episode 6, episode 5, where it's just like things kind of, it ruined her day. It's just like, and she went to get a drink for herself and her friend, and lo and behold, she caught Ken on top of Ira, and she was like literally about to freak out. And then we get the earlier context, and we find out what Ken's really been up to. He's secretly training because he wants to get stronger, because he's like, it's only a matter of time before some other crazy shit happens to us, and I want to make sure I can protect Momo. Because I'm sure he feels like, because, once again, the whole thing with Silky last episode, it's like, I don't really know how to fight back. Plus he also has terrible stamina because he can only go full throttle twice before he runs out, and obviously all of this takes a massive toll on his body, just like the shot he used against Silky. So he wants to train himself up, and he kind of didn't want Momo to know about that. But then Ira uses his opportunity, because she's like, right, let's kiss, because I'm going to confess my feelings for you, because she's like, that's the only way you can describe this. Because I think there's a little bit of like, you helped saved me, so I feel a little like, what's the word I'm looking for? I think there's a specific term for it. Hero worshipping is kind of in the lane, but I feel like there's a better word or phrase that I'm just not thinking of. But basically, it's because Ira feels a certain way towards him, because for her, it's like, right, despite you being a demon, you have a good heart. But it's like, even though, once again, he's not a demon, he's a regular dude who just happens to have the powers of a spirit. But either way, it's the situation of like, because Ken tried to save her life, and she sees how good he can be, there's a little bit of like hey, I have an attachment to you because you tried to save my life. So and she also got this from like what seemed like might be porn videos or mags or whatever, like of her dad's, that she like is taking this advice from, and she was watching something. Ken's like, whoa, where are you even getting all these ideas from? But for her, it's like, right, you have to confess, and it's up to a boy to accept that, and so I'm gonna have to kiss you. That's the only way I'm gonna be able to get my feelings across. And she tries to come in for a kiss, and Ken literally puts his hand in her face, is like, nope. I rebuke you. It's, so that turns into a whole struggle, because he's like, no, there's nothing going on between us. No, you just need to stop. You're acting a little crazy. Are you possessed again or something? Like, what's going on here? And then we get to the whole Momo seeing him on top of her. And it's so sad, because like Momo's pissed at him, understandably. And I think even she doesn't quite know why she is. Like, that's not something she really dealt with, but like, obviously it depressed her. Like, she got super depressed, and she was super angry, because once again, she got very jealous the moment in episode 5 she saw Ira getting all touchy with Ken. But now it's in her head, it's like, oh, you rather sneak off and be with her, even though like we have the stronger connection, because she doesn't actually know how Ken feels about her. She knows, like, I mean, even she doesn't know how she feels about him. But it is a situation of like, I think all that plays into, the drama of it all, where it's just like they both like each other. They're just they're just super awkward around each other. And just for her, it's just massive misunderstanding, which he was trying to make Momo see that was a whole misunderstanding, and everything with Ira being a misunderstanding. So, but like at the end of the day, he admits and recognizes when she calls him out. She's like, "Oh, so was the whole thing like a lie?" He was like, "Well, the thing I told you I was doing was in fact like the report was a lie." And even in class, he's like weight training and he's squeezing like kind of a strength thing in his hand, and it's like, right, I kind of have no excuses. Like the fact of the matter is, I wouldn't even have to worry about lying if I was just stronger. So he's like, I need to stop not making any excuses. Like, I need to just get stronger and focus on that. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about Momo being pissed at me because she has every right to be, because I did lie to her, you know, because I tried to be cool. I wanted to train in secret and then impress her, you know. And I'm sure Momo would actually appreciate knowing, like, the reason why you didn't say anything is because you wanted to impress her. Would they just, I mean, because the thing is, Ken can, you know, like he did in episode 5, he can tell her the truth where he's just like, yo, like, I'm sorry I said all that stuff. I just, when you got on me, I just snapped back at you. It's like, I just wanted to talk to you all day. He has moments like that where he can be honest, but obviously Momo was upset with him right now, so she wasn't willing to listen, kind of like she was in episode 5. But yeah, she's just like mad depressed and like shut down. But then in the middle of everything, shit goes crazy, and Ken notices like the room is filled with water, and then everyone else in the room disappears. So much like the episode 2 situation, they've got dragged into a kind of a separate space and they're locked in. As we find out later on, anyone that has high level spiritual power or awareness or whatever is here. So that's why Momo, Ken, and Ira. Now, from what we can tell, not unless there ends up being a future episode that retroactively reveals there was someone else here, it seems like they're the only ones at the school currently like this. So, Momo is around what looks kind of like a lizard / dragon. We don't know if that's an alien or a spirit. Once again, the lines blur so much in this universe, because later on, Ira and Ken are confronted by an alien. It's like the sumo alien from episode 2, because it's a boxer now, and he's saying this very, like, I don't know why it makes me think of that. It kind of reminds me of, what's his face? It's Killer Bee, right? What isn't he the Eight Tails? I believe he is. In Naruto, Shippuden specifically, but Killer Bee. I think that's Bee's name. God, it's been so long. I swear it's Killer Bee. Like how his whole thing is like he raps. It kind of gave me that same feel. It's not the same thing, but it kind of gave me that same feel, like this thing like mumbling and saying a phrase to itself over and over again. But yeah, it's a boxer, and so it tries to attack them. But Ken transforms and get ready to fight, but before he can do anything, the aliens from episode 1 show up again, and they like weigh him down. And so basically, the equivalency of Momo holding back the curse, they're able to do that now. What's really interesting too is, like, obviously they've all got like different colored eyes too. Cause I don't think we saw their eyes at all in episode 1, so I don't know, like, now they're flexing different powers that maybe they didn't have before or what. Because a big question is, like, well, because if I remember correctly, the sumo alien had a connection to these aliens. That's why they came after Momo and Ken specifically, because you were already on their radar. Because I think he even called them his brothers or something like that. So the boxing one seems like he might be related to them. The dragon lizard thing, I'm not sure. Because everything Ira and Ken are dealing with, which Ira's finding out that aliens are alive, are real. It's like, wait, they exist? It's like, yeah, they do. And they're after our human reproductive organs for whatever reason. But either way, Momo's dealing with that thing, like, Momo moved a little bit and that transpired across the water. This thing sensed it, charged up, and fired a laser that started cutting through the building, but then it immediately takes off. So luckily Momo was ducking. That thing could easily be like a spirit, or a yokai or whatever, versus like everything, like I said, Ken and Ira dealing with is an alien, but it could all be alien related. Like I said, it seems like they're making a point to blend and blur everything in this series. So I'm wondering, because it doesn't look aesthetically like, because at least like the sumo thing and this new thing have boxing, that's just like a dragon thing, so I'm lizard, so I'm like, it feels like that's probably more demon slash yokai-ish, but we'll have to wait to see. But yeah, they're after Ken now because they find him so fascinating, because his powers and how it works. It's like, oh, it's so fascinating, especially with all our scientific discoveries, how that power of yours works in conjunction with ours. So we want to experiment on you and kind of give some of that power, take it from you and give it to us. So, and it's like, right, like he's also like, why are you guys so fascinated with my genitals? You know? So they are trying to basically mess up his clothes, kind of like they did Momo's, and they're stripping him down and they're ready to cut him up until he gets some help from Ira, who transforms. I wasn't expecting her to have transform powers like Ken, which was really interesting, because I assumed she'd have some abilities from, like, I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember if I talked about this last episode. It might have been, it was something I probably thought, but I don't remember if I ever put it in recording. But other people definitely talked about, well, she was never, because I knew she was never going to need Ken's ball the entire time. So it's like, now that she had Silky's, like, aura, it's like, right, like, my powers are consistently awakened. So I didn't know what her powers, her whole gimmick was going to be. And then I heard other people go like, oh, I wonder will her circumstance be similar to Ken, because there is a lot of overlap of Granny's powers just got implemented inside of her, versus it's like, well, she got Silky's aura and there's a lot that comes with it. And so she transforms. So she seems like she has a lot of the acrobatic ballet skills, and her hair grows out really long. But also, like, I don't think I ever drew the parallel before. Maybe other people have, but especially like now looking at hers, especially like the way the mask formed, because we've seen it pop up on Ken, but we've never seen it like hers. Hers forms like a bone, like it forms like. And it definitely gives me Bleach vibes. It kind of reminds me of like the visors, more specifically the visors, because I'm about to say the espadas. But if you're unfamiliar with Bleach, like in the espadas or the visors are Shinigami that have hollow abilities, versus the espada, which were was the Espada just a high-ranking member? Like, no, I think they were all just Espada. The Hollows who gain Shinigami abilities. But either way, like it kind of reminded me of like someone putting on a hollow mask, like a visor, or specifically like Ichigo putting on a hollow mask is what it kind of gave me vibes of. And I don't think I'd ever put that together until this episode. So I was like, oh, that's so neat. So I'm excited to dive into that more next episode and fully see what she's capable of. I wonder, does she have restraints like Ken does? Once again, he can only go full throttle twice. What about Ira? Does she have the same limitations, or do her limitations kind of manifest differently because her powers are differently? Where it's like Ken's running at super fast speeds and that takes a toll on him. What kind of toll will this kind of take on Ira? Because it's like you're mainly dealing with like, not unless it hurts her body because she's contorting her body a certain way because she's not used to ballet moves, or, plus like her hair growing up, like who knows if that's going to have any lasting effects. But some very, very fascinating, interesting developments. I'm excited to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us. We're in the last quarter of this season, because I believe, someone can correct me, I believe this is only 12 episodes. I looked it up, it is 12 episodes. So yeah, we are in the back quarter of the season. So interested to see where this takes us, and also like what's this kind of arc for the last quarter of the season going to be. I'm assuming we're going to continue building off of this for the next episodes, but we'll have to wait to see how it all plays out, and especially this whole Ira transformation, how that all plays out and where that story goes, considering how Ira feels about Ken, but Ken not feeling the same way, and him and Momo being in an awkward spot, and hopefully they'll have an opportunity. They definitely will, but when will they have the opportunity to kind of remedy their situation? He can kind of explain himself. So we'll see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.